Welcome to the Strategic Moves Podcast. I'm your host, Kenn Dowell, and this is the podcast where we dive into issues shaping our community, youth empowerment, and education and advocacy is what we're going to talk about today. Each episode, we spotlight change makers creating real impact, and today's guest is no exception. I'm thrilled to welcome Jawan Smith, an educator, advocator, author who has worked in Cleveland to transform the lives of many young people. Her dedication is helping families and young people succeed is nothing short of inspiring. So, if this sounds like something you'd be interested in, what I want you to do is sit back, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell as well, so that you'll know the next time this program comes out. So, what we're going to do is we're going to get right back into this program. But before we get started, I'm going to just do a real quick shout out to our podcast producer, none other than DJ True. Lateef, what's going on in there, brother?
What's up? What's up? I'm in the back room.
Every day is a holiday.
Running all the controls, mashing all the buttons, making sure we have a smooth ride.
Let's try to have one today. How about that? That'll be awesome, wouldn't it?
Yeah, because all this cold, boy. These last 2 days, man. How did you survive with the 0 below temperatures on, I believe it was Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday?
Stayed in the house. The easiest way was just stay in the house. And that's all I did. I stayed back, I sat back. I chilled and I didn't do much of anything. So it worked out pretty well for me.
I did as minimal as possible and also kicked off the fireplace. Had to get that fireplace going.
Oh, well, you're awesome. I'm excited today because I'm getting back into the mood of podcasting, and we got guests that are going to be coming in here. We're getting things up and going, and we're working hard to try to build a better program for the people to give good content and good content for the masses. So that's what our goal is. And so we're going to try to keep doing this and try to bring on better guests and keep things going. And today's guest is somebody who I'm looking forward to talking to. She's interesting. I try to bring on people who I find interesting. And I check out other podcasts and what other people are doing. And then I pick a gem or two out of that. And today we did that. So it's going to be a good conversation.
Man, sounds like a good one.
All right, let's jump on into it. Our guest today, Jawan, is the founder of two incredible programs. Get Our Babies to College 101, which is a program that helps equip parents and young people through the college prep process. And she has another program which is called 1,000 Ties, a life skill incentive for young people, a life skills program for young men focused on building confidence and essential skills. She's also the author of 7 books. I thought it was just a few, but she has 7 books. She is the author of one of them is called Grandma Hattie's Ice Cream, an award-winning children's book that's now being translated into Spanish. Growing up in Cleveland's Hough neighborhood, Jawan turned her experience into a mission of uplifting others. Today, we will explore her journey, her programs, and how she created a brighter future for Cleveland's youth. So without further ado, DJ, let's welcome Jawan Smith to the program. Ms. Smith, how you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks for coming on the program. We try to do what we can, and I watched you on a couple other podcasts and out there doing the work, so I figured let's get her in here and let's talk to her and let the people know what you're up to these days.
I appreciate the opportunity. I love being able to not only share my story, but share the purpose and the mission in hopes of bringing more people into the work.
Oh, excellent. Let's jump right into it. Jawan, growing up in the Hough neighborhoods, a community known for strength and resilience, how did your early experience shape your passion for education and advocacy? Why you get into that? What was it like growing up in Hough?
My Hough experience was a bit different because my mom was a single mom, but she was more like a drill sergeant. So
Really?
She didn't play.
Mhm.
I didn't go to Thurgood Rec until I was an adult. We didn't go past 93rd.
Whoa.
We had to be in by a certain time. She was the mama screaming out the windows, calling everybody to come in. So I didn't really get a lot of in the neighborhood time. I would go school, home, or to the library. I spent a lot of time at the library. That was my way to get out. And I played a lot of sports. So that was what kept me moving, because my mother was big on education and keeping us out the streets.
So when you say you play a lot of sports, what sports did you play?
Volleyball was my sport of choice, and then I played track just to stay conditioned during the year,
Okay.
or ran track rather. But volleyball was my sport.
And what high school you went to?
John Hay.
John Hay. Okay. All right. So you played sports in school and kind of did that to get out the house a little bit. So Mom, I'm going to the library.
Right.
Hey, you know what? It used to be a time, I remember that. When I was growing up, you'd be like, I'm going to the library. And the walk to the library was the adventure. It wasn't so much, when you made it there was one thing, but it was the walk to the library that was the whole key to that whole story. And people just got to understand that's what the whole key to I'm going to the library was all about.
Exactly.
After that, did you go to college?
So my path was a little different. I went to David and Myers, or it was called Dyke College back then.
I know it, yeah.
And,
Down, it was on
yeah. And so I had a guidance counselor that was amazing. And so one day I was just talking to him about different things that I do because I was planning events. My best friend was a DJ Joe Boom, and he used to do kid parties. And so I was helping him with promotion and street work. I had told my guidance counselor about that type of stuff. One day I'm riding and I get a call, and this is Kim Johnson from 93 FM. And I'm like, what? Like, why is Kim Johnson calling me? And so what happened was he submitted a resume that I didn't create. He created a resume and submitted it. They had a promotions position open. And so I ended up leaving college because I got this position at the radio station. And so that kind of took me down a path of promotion and working with different record labels and traveling. So I did that for a long time. And then I was on the road with Yin Yang Twins, and I got sick. And so I had to come home, and it took them a year to figure out that I had lupus, but I was sick. And so once they got me together and got my medicine together, I went to college at that time. So I spent, I want to say 9 years just out doing music stuff before I actually ended up going back to college.
You was rolling with the all that story you told me. All I was good in my mind sitting there thinking like, she said she was rolling with the and I'm thinking about hey DJ, did they make that song Whisper?
Yeah.
That's what I was sitting there thinking
I was
about.
with them with the Whisper song came out.
All right. Well, that's
cool. That was the joint too.
That was the joint.
The Yin Yang Twins, the Whisper song.
Yeah, you was right up there in the height of when all of that was jumping off.
Yes, I was still with them. I think I was with them. I got sick maybe like a year after Whisper song.
And you say it was lupus?
Lupus.
Really?
Yeah, and it completely took me all the way down. And I'm out here on the road. You know how the road is. We living out of suitcases fast. You're going, and I couldn't function. And so I had to come home. And so one doctor we went to, they was saying, oh, she got leukemia. My mama like, a devil's a liar. Let's get a second opinion. And so we went to 3 different doctors, and I got diagnosed with hypoglycemia. Like, they was diagnosing me with so many things. And then my mom found a specialist. And they finally diagnosed me with lupus.
But she was back then, lupus wasn't as prevalent as it is now.
Then people had it, but people didn't talk about it. It was like it was something like a shameful, and it's something that your body is attacking itself. So
I know more women who get is it a woman's disease?
I wouldn't say that. It's definitely more prevalent in people of color. A lot of women get it. I think men have it, they just don't talk about it.
Maybe that's true what you're saying. They don't talk about it.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. And how old were you when you?
I was 25 when I got diagnosed.
Wow. So how was that journey?
That was challenging because I had to, so my lupus affects me in a way where it affects my skin. So I burn really bad. I can't do a lot of sun. My eyes are super, super sensitive to the point where I've had all kind of inflammations in my eye. My left eye, I actually lost my vision for a minute in my left eye.
That's scary.
Because the inflammation was so bad. I didn't even know you could get inflammation in your eye.
Wow.
And then my joints were really bad. So it would make it hard for me to function. My skin would hurt. So some days I didn't even want to put clothes on. Wow. So imagine getting up and your whole body hurt. I'm not going outside because I don't want to put no clothes on. So it definitely took a minute to get adjusted to the new medicines and being aware of I can't sit out in the sun or my skin gonna be on fire. Or I had to really be mindful of the environments that I was in.
Now you got better, the medication got better. Now you with it, or you still have to really watch it at some point.
The sun definitely will take me out. I have
picnics and all that.
I'm always with sunglasses. Like when I came in, I always have sunglasses on. I usually always have on a hat. I wear sunblock. I carry umbrellas everywhere. I don't play with the sun because the sun will put me down.
Wow. I'm glad you're doing better.
Yeah, I'm doing a lot better.
That's great. That's great. Who were some of your key influencers when you were growing up that kind of helped guide you through?
So my number one person, of course, would be my mom. My grandparents were off the hook. My grandmother, Peggy Jean. I always tell people either I'm having a Peggy Jean type of day or a Charlie Moss. So Charlie Moss was my grandfather. He was real laid back. My grandmother was a pistol.
Okay.
And so she would give you the business. So that's where I got my advocacy from.
Okay.
She always said, everybody got a boss. You write a letter. So everybody got a boss.
Right.
So that was her platform of how she lived life. And then Kyle Long, who worked for CMSD, he was one of the athletic directors there.
Okay.
I met him at a time where I was fighting for my children. And he just loved my passion. And so he taught me the proper way to fight when you're in those settings. So he's always been someone that I've been super close to.
So when you say fighting for your children, what was that all about?
Just being able to have a voice and use your voice where they actually listen. Because a lot of times when you're going, especially when you're fighting for your kids and something bad has happened or you feel like they weren't being treated correctly, and you lead with passion, but you have to lead with passion and common sense, because you go in there screaming and shaking tables, they're not going to really move for you. But Cal taught me how to use my voice where I can make effective change. And so that's actually what started my journey in philanthropy.
Interesting. That's teaching you advocacy 101, because that's part of it. People don't want to hear. There's a lot of people with a lot of great causes and a lot of great ideas, but the way they come at people.
It's your approach.
Yeah.
You can shake tables. Like I'll shake a table in a minute, but I'm going to shake it, but you're actually going to hear what I'm saying while I'm shaking it.
That's correct.
And I'm the type of person where I don't just fight for my children, I fight for everybody's children.
What inspired you to start Get Our Babies into College 101?
So Getting Our Babies to College 101 started because my daughter was told she had dyslexia and she wanted to go to college. But somebody told her because of her dyslexia, she was just going to go to workforce. She wasn't going to college.
Really?
And so for me, it's who do you think you are? And then as I started to, learn how to help her get to college, one of the people told me that I'm just a parent. And so that was like a trigger. Like, you can't tell me without parents, you don't have students. Without students, you don't have a school.
That's correct.
And so that means that I have value. And so what that led me to do was I started doing research on how to get my baby to school. And then other parents started to see, and they're like, wait, the schools aren't helping us. Can you help me? And so what in turn happened was the school found out that I was helping parents outside of school time. So the school started to try and bring me in to help. Hey, can you come talk to the parents about FAFSA? So giving it a parent's perspective.
Okay.
A friend of mine found out about this pitch competition with Cleveland Leadership Center called Accelerate. And so you're out here doing this and you're doing it out of your pocket. Go pitch this idea and see if it's really a thing. And so I pitched in 2017. And I won the education category. And so Eric Gordon was one of my judges. And when I say that next week, he had his people find me, and I had a meeting with him, and that next week I had a contract. I tell people my business had a body before it had legs, because I was trying to catch up, because Eric's like, my parents need this assistance. Like, we need to be in these buildings teaching them what it looks like to get ready for college and how to prepare and, how to make the best decision. Because a lot of time as parents, we have this big vision of what we want for our children, but how many times have we sat down and asked our children what they want?
Oh, this is true. And I can credit that to, I did a program for College Now, and we'll talk a little bit about it. Let's get into that. This is why I say my programs go over. I was doing a program for College Now. They wanted us to do some recruiting for them, and they had two programs. They had one program they wanted us to recruit in the city of Cleveland to recruit adults, telling them they can go back to school, and there was resources to help them go back to get their GED and so on and so forth. And then they had another program that they were doing that was a program, they just had certain areas. Cleveland Heights was one of the areas that they wanted us to go there and knock on doors of students and parents to get more kids enrolled into the program. Their numbers were low in that school, believe it or not, and it was like,
I believe it.
yeah, I was shocked because all my kids graduated from them, and all of them went to college. But every year, as my kids got older, they all kept saying the school was changing. It's changing, that. It ain't the same. It ain't the same. But with that, I learned from the people who were going knocking on doors, talking to them, that the parents, and that's who I want to talk about, the parents who seemed like they were so not engaged in that whole process themselves. Having the guides and everything else is one thing, and we're going to really talk about how great that is. But since we're here, let's talk about these parents. These parents. It was one case where somebody knocked on the door and they asked the kid. Kid came to the door and was like, "Oh, we wasn't going blindly. We were going to doors where kids in school filled out the paper, said they wanted to get information about going to college, but they were underage and you had to get their parents' consent to do it. They were sending us to the doors to knock for the parents to say, hey, can you sign this form? Because little Johnny want to go to college and he just want to get you the information." And we knocked on doors. Those parents who came to the door was like, he don't want to go to school. They ain't going to college. It ain't happening. And then one guy came. The one that got us the most was the one who, the son, we said, he's filled out the form. He said he wanted to go. He called him. He came downstairs, and the parent was like, you filled out this form, and you say you want to go to college? And the kid was like, yeah, I want to go to college. He said, you really want to go? And the kid looked at him, got intimidated, said, no, I don't really want to go. And he just walked away. These parents.
So with parents, you're getting multiple different situations. So you're getting the parents that have never went to college. You're getting parents that might not have graduated from high school. So it's intimidating. Then when you're talking about fast food, now you're talking about getting in people's business. So that's a major issue. And I think that's why the schools felt value in what I do, because I'm coming as a parent. I'm not coming as a school person. So they might feel a little more comfortable telling me different situations, because we all know people got different stuff they doing under the table, or they don't want the government in their business. And then some people just feel like their child won't do well at college. And this could be a part of not having a discussion. Have you asked your child what it is they want to do? They're not having those discussions, or they might have never even thought that this was a possibility because of their financial situation. So you're walking into so many different things, and you're walking in blind. And then there's the other side, which is where I advocate a lot, where parents don't even feel like they're a part of the process. So now, okay, my child a senior, I ain't heard from you in 4 years, 3 years, they've been in your school. Now here you come popping up on my door telling me you can get my kid to college. What do you know about my kid? What do you know about us? You haven't tried to include me in the process prior to. So why are you here now? So now you get that pushback because the parents didn't feel like they were a part of the process. Parents don't feel welcome.
But the kids suffer.
They do. But I think that's because the relationships are not there. The schools have to learn that it's a partnership. The school won't sign FAFSA. That's not your role. The role of the parent is important. So they need to build those relationships freshman year.
So and I know we ain't come on to talk about this, but I can't help it. I really, because I'm disappointed in the parents these days. And I'm not here to bash them at all.
And it's different times.
And the times are different. And that's why I'm really giving it a break. The parents are not the same parents. I get all of that.
Parents are younger.
They're younger.
You're younger. And then people are on instant money. Everything is instant and quick.
Yeah.
So when you look at go to school for 4 years and could then come back out with $20,000, $30,000 in debt, we're not doing that. So that's where people could be with it. I'm not speaking for all, and I don't think that it's parents that don't care. I just think they're uninformed. They don't know, and especially with people of color, we do not want to acknowledge when we don't know stuff. Pride is an issue. Being able to come in and say, yeah, I don't know. I didn't go to college. I didn't do a FAFSA. Instead of coming in and saying, hey, can you help me with this?
So what made you different? You had a challenge. You had a daughter who was dyslexic, who obviously was going to have some challenges in going. You knew that she wanted to go, and she knew, heck, she had to be just as scared as anybody else, and you also feeling that thing. So what was the difference? What made you say, not only I'm going to do this, but I'm going to do it for others?
I had the conversation with my children. I talked to mine. What do you want to do? What's the goal? Because we need to start working in middle school to figure out how to put this plan together. So we start in middle school, and that's what I teach people. It doesn't start in 9th grade, because if you start in 9th grade, to me, I feel like you're behind already, because for some reason, 9th graders feel like it's a free year. They just getting there, they freshmen, they having fun. So if you're counting on 9th grade year, most kids do not do well freshman year.
And isn't I mistaken, from the FAFSA testing and all of that, when you get ready, not the FAFSA, but your test, isn't the 9th grade years the most important?
11th grade.
Is the 11th grade the most important year?
Mm-hmm.
I know one of them was to be is the most important grade out of all of them. You cannot blow that year.
11th grade year is the most important year.
Wow.
But when it comes to starting to navigate that process, eighth grade is the most important, because now, especially in Cleveland, they have high schools that are specific to different career fields.
Okay.
So if you can get a jump on that and go to a school that has manufacturing, or a school that has cosmetology, or a school that has a nursing program or STNA program, then you can pick a high school based off of what your field is and go to that, and you might decide that's not even what you want to do. And then you'll be like a lot of adults that we know that went to school, picked a career, did it for a year or two, and they're like, this is terrible. And now they got to start all over because people aren't doing shadowing. They're not doing internships. They're not seeing what the career actually is. They're going based off of what other people have said or what they see on TV.
So since we're on education, because you got a lot to cover here, but we're going to stay on education and we're rolling good. What about the myth? Let's talk about CMSD. The myth of the school itself. I don't want to pick on the schools, but let's talk about the enrollment, because that's the biggest thing right now, is that numbers that don't seem to be in the school and that kind of thing. And the thing that's surrounding. I know CMSD has its issues of growing and everything, but is there any myths out there that you can really say, you know what, people think this, but CMSD is really doing this and this is really good?
I think it depends on what specifically you're looking for. CMSD has some great, like I said, the independent schools, the small schools. I think that was a good thing. You can pick a school that has a specific program, but when you're looking at different opportunities as a parent, you have to make a decision. If my child wants to play football, to go to CMSD for opportunities, they got to go to Yin Academy. If they want to play basketball and have opportunities, where are you going? Glenville or Rose? So you have to be, as a parent, you have to make the best decision for your child. And so I would say, if I had to say, the best thing about CMSD right now is the small schools. Having the opportunity to get on the job training. East Tech has the culinary program. So if you can get into one of those programs, I would say that's probably one of the best things that CMSD has to offer right now.
That's excellent, excellent. And your kids went to CMSD?
Both of mine graduated from CMSD. My
What
daughter
school?
came out of Tech, and my son is a Hornet like me.
Oh, okay. All right. How old are your kids?
My daughter is 27, and my son is 23.
27 and 23. And let's talk about your son, because I think your son is probably one of the reasons why you got your other business got going, and the other business you got started, and that is 1,000 Ties, which is an organization that you put together. Tell everybody what 1,000 Ties is all about.
So I started 1,000 Ties after I watched my son teach himself how to tie a tie on YouTube. And so it just made me think of all of the other single parents who might not have had a guy around or a male influence to be able to teach their son that skill. And then I started to watch my son and his friends and the lack of communication and the way they communicate and the way they engage with females. And I'm just like, man, there's so many basic things. Like my son knows it because I teach him, and then I have a lot of guy cousins. And so like my cousin Antoine, he's like his step-in dad. And so he's had that influence. So I see it with him, but then I'm looking at his friends, and they're not doing, when they are next to each other, they're texting instead of talking, or when they go out with a girl, they're not opening doors, or they don't have those basic skills. And so that led me to want to have a day of community for them. And so what I think with young men, I feel like they get overlooked. We talk about them when they do something bad, but we're not creating opportunities to avoid something bad. And so my thought was to have a day. And so that was when the 1,000 Ties event came. And so after the first year, like we had such a great success. We did it in partnership with CMSD. But then when they left, I got sad because I'm like, man, we had them for 7 hours. We might have taught them a few things, but now what?
So let's talk about, because 1,000 Ties. Why the name 1,000 Ties? Because it could have been, okay, tie day, but what made you come up with 1,000 Ties? And tell us what the event actually was.
So I had this idea of men coming together to help the boys learn how to tie ties. And so I was talking to Al Grimes, and I'm like, y'all should help get through the ties with the kids. And so he's, no, you're going to do it. And I'm like, but I'm a woman. And so he's, but you're a mom, and I'll support you. And so I said, okay, where am I going to get these ties from? And so I said, maybe if I ask the community to help me collect 1,000 ties, then like we could use 1,000 ties for a long time. And so the first year we actually collected 10,000 ties.
Ooh, Lordy.
the first year.
Oh man, okay. Look, there should have been 10,000 times.
Right. I was pushing it because I'm a
Wow.
person, I don't like asking people for stuff.
Woo.
So I'm like, I don't want to be greedy. So I'm like, maybe if we could just try to collect 1,000
Let me ask an
times.
old ignorant question. What was you like when you got 10,000 times? I know you. Where did it come all to your house and everything?
At first, they were in my house, in my living room, stacked up in storage totes. And
Wow.
my brother came over one day. He said, "Girl, if you don't get a storage unit," because I'm like,
Wow.
I wanted to make sure that we got them cleaned. And
They were all kinds of
was-
new ties,
yeah,
all kinds.
Yeah,
Wow.
like I wanted to make sure we were storing them correctly.
Okay,
and,
okay.
and so I'm like, I didn't want to do storage. You get this stuff out your living room. So
That's cool.
I ended up getting a storage unit, and then NFL Alumni Association reached out to me. And so they actually had NFL players just start sending me boxes and boxes
Wow.
of ties.
Wow.
And so we went from the smallest storage unit and went up like 3 sizes within the first year because
Wow.
we had so many ties.
So what you do with all them ties?
We give them out.
Every year.
We give them out. We at our
So
event.
I imagine you're not asking for any more ties, right?
Oh no, we always collecting.
You still collecting?
Because we recycle them out. Like, as soon as we get them clean, and we go right out. We go
Wow.
to people's events.
Mhm.
Where all summer people can book us, and we
So
come out.
so how you get a tie?
How do you get one from us?
Yeah.
You just call it. Email us. We just took a box of ties to a CMSD school last week. They emailed and said they were having something and they needed some ties. Okay, we box them up and drop them off. So people know, like, they don't have to do tie collections because we have them. So they can call us. I get calls from all over. We get ties from all over the country, literally. People send us ties.
All right, so let's talk about the event. All right, so now I got all these ties. I said, okay, they're in my living room. Brother convinced me to put them in the storage room. Now I got to actually do something with these ties. So what did you do?
So we have our annual event. It's in February, and we did it in February intentionally because it's Black History Month. So all of our presenters are people of color. The boys have a full day. They get workshops, they get continental breakfast, they get lunch. But I always look at things as a parent. So I wanted to make sure I eliminated all barriers. So we wanted to give our moms a day of self-care. So we do yoga, we have a licensed psychologist, and then our moms have an open forum. And so for them, it's giving them community. So other moms that might be dealing with stuff that you're dealing with, and it's usually like the hot topic. Like, we have to kick the moms out. They have so much fun. And then we also we have Finish Line as our sponsor, and so they have a kids room.
Okay.
So their staff come and they volunteer and they play games and they have snacks and we get a character. So the kids have their own room. And then this year, Al Grimes will be bringing a fatherhood initiative, so they'll be doing their fatherhood table talk. So this will be the first year that the fathers have their own workshops.
Okay.
And last year we had 40 organizations giving away free stuff, free items, free information. We have basketball games. So it's just a full day of activity this year. The Warrensville Band will be kicking us off. So
Okay. And y'all be at where?
we'll be Warrensville Heights High School.
You be in one? So you done stretched your wings. You out, that ain't Cleveland?
We were doing it in Cleveland, and then the pandemic hit.
Oh.
And so when pandemic hit, the first year we didn't do anything. We had a resource event. So because we couldn't be inside, we partnered with the East Side School and the West Side School, and we set up tables, and all of our partners that come and set up tables, and we just let families drive through. But then the next year when the world was opening, CMSD still wasn't doing big events.
Okay.
So Mr. Jolly was like, come on over.
Mr. Jolly, good dude.
I love Jolly.
Mr. Jolly, a good dude.
Jolly do not play about them
No,
kids
no, he
over
don't.
there.
I knew Mr. Jolly when he was over at what was it, Adams? I think it was Adams.
Jolly
before.
don't play.
Yeah, I knew
if
Jolly.
it's,
for a
if it's
while.
gonna benefit his kids, you can come with it.
Wow.
I
Yes,
love
he's a good dude. Hey, tell me share us a success story from the program you'd like to impact one of the students that you did your program and you say, he's a product of mine. This is one I'm going to say.
So we have one young man. He's actually an international model now.
We talked about that. That's right.
Yes, Julian is
you
a
sure
model.
did.
You can see him on Times Square. He be in the mall. I know he was doing Route 21. He's had some really big contracts. I think all last summer he was in Japan. He travels the country and he's a professional model. And for a minute he was on our board. So I had him on our board. And he's just been great. He comes to the event every year, and the kids just love to see him because he's famous, big time famous.
Excellent. And what school did he go to?
He went to East Tech with my daughter.
Oh, excellent. In this world with all this technology and everything that's going on, why do you think soft skills like tying a tie or writing in cursive or all these little bases. I think you do etiquette classes with these gentlemen and everything. Why you think that's really important these days?
Because I think they need to be able to stand on their own. Outside of technology, they need to be able to represent themselves in the best way, especially for our young men, our black and brown boys. They need to be able to be seen. And the skills we teach them, it gives them confidence. It teaches them stress management. It teaches them how to be the best version of themselves. People laugh when I tell them we do sewing. And they're like, you teach boys to sew? Yes, we do. Because sewing is multi-purpose. We cut on the jazz music, they concentrate, it gives them, it's a distraction, it's a stress reliever, and it gives them a skill. So they're getting multiple things, and the boys usually are better than the girls with sewing.
It's really wild because I grew up and I was the only guy in the house with my grandmother, and I had aunts and they had daughters. I was the only guy in the house. So I learned how to sew. I learned how to do all of that. But I also went to, you used to teach us home ec. We used to have to, remember you used to have to sew that little teddy bear.
And they don't have any of those classes.
They don't have any of those
They
anymore.
don't have that. We do our STEM project, our STEM chapter, and they get to build robots.
Yeah.
And so with that, they're learning how to read instructions. They're learning how to read blueprints. They're learning about tools. They're getting to use tools. So
and basic stuff, because you'd be surprised. They don't know how to use a screwdriver, don't know how to use a hammer. And just not to say build something, but just like you say, to be able to, everything you get now, you got to put it together. Just to be able to do that is a really good skill. And on the etiquette side of learning proper etiquette, I think is just something that every guy should learn.
It's so funny that I've had kids come back and they, Miss Smith, I took a girl on a date and she was so shocked I put my napkin in my lap. And I'm like, see, I'm trying to tell you, you earned a couple points off something as small as putting a napkin in your lap, but it's something that long term, you'll really need that skill.
You really need that skill. And it helps you. Not even for just that young lady, but you're going to be in a office setting, you're going to go out, just with even some of your coworkers, and just for them to know, okay, you really got your stuff together, or you got some kind of decency.
Right.
Man, that's all I'm trying not to, come on, people. And our brothers really need it. So I really kudos to you reaching out in the program. Still going on now?
Yes, we're at all 3 Invictus campuses. So we work more with the non-traditional students. So the students that are life is happening, or as they say, life is lifing. And so a lot of them have children. They might be homeless, different situations.
Children in school with children.
100%.
Wow.
100%. Because we work with girls too.
I'm acting like I'm shocked, but it was like that when I was in school. But probably
and
more
they're
now.
eager because stuff is happening, and they need to know what salmonella is, because we do a kitchen safety class. So understanding how to fill out paperwork. We do handwriting so they can learn how to write their signature when they're signing for documents. We've had kids come in bring leases because people be trying to they really be territory trying to get these kids and having them sign up for stuff they know that they can't afford. So once we build that trust, they come in and they like, Auntie, look what these people gave me. Do this make sense? And the goal is to teach them life skills, and to teach them how to advocate, but to create a form of family, because some of them don't have family. So a lot of them call me Auntie. And I don't have a problem with that, because that means that you trust me. And before you make a major decision, maybe you'll come and ask first before you go sign your life away. Because a lot of us have done that. We just sign and stuff, and you get caught up in a 10-year contract for something you're paying for 3 times over.
That's correct.
So just getting them to understand what real life actually looks like.
Oh, that's excellent. And like you say, if you just want a tie, you just call your organization.
100%. We always got ties. We come to people's events. You have to book us 3 weeks in advance, though, because we book up, especially in the summer. But we come to events. We do tie lessons. If you're ever at an event, people walking around with T-shirts with ties on, we there.
Y'all do bow ties?
No, we don't do bow ties.
Oh, what? You see that? They do bow ties.
Just regular ties. Just regular ties.
Teach me how to put my ascot in with my little. I want to put my ascot on.
One of my board members, he's a Q, and so he's supposed to be teaching us how to do that. But right now, it's just regular ties.
Bow tie would be nice. Now you see that guy who say, I actually had to tie my bow tie for my wedding, and I learned that from you. That would be so awesome. Let's keep it moving here. You're not just a community leader in all of your stuff. You're an author, and you sat here and told me you done wrote 7 books. Now that's impressive. 7 books. So go on and lay them out. Name them all. What's all 7 books you done wrote?
My top book, of course, is Grandma
Oh,
Hattie's
you know
Ice
what?
Cream.
Give me in order. What was the first one, and let's
So
scroll them
my
down.
first book
Yeah.
is Zakari Goes to College, and that was an accident. I interviewed Margaret Bernstein at the Authors Expo some years ago, and so she flipped the interview on me and was like, "Have you ever wrote a book?" And I'm like, "Margaret, I don't write.
Okay.
I do workshops." And she's, "Have you ever journaled or taken notes?" And I'm like, "When I go on college visits to do my research for curriculum, I said I took notes. I took my grandson." And so she gets a book. And I'm like, "It's not a book." And she gets a book. And I put it together, and she actually edited it for me. So my first book is edited by a Grammy-winning author.
Wow, that's cute.
And so Zakari Goes to College is the first book. And then the second book was Grandma Hattie. So Grandma Hattie's Ice Cream, it teaches numbers and colors using scoops of ice cream. And so the first time I released it was just a regular book. And that one was on Amazon's top 25 twice when it first released.
Wow.
And then the next book, I did the second in the Zakari series. So I gave you Grandma Hattie. And so the second Zakari book is Zakari's Carnival Adventure. And so I partnered with the Cleveland police detective. And so she put safety tips in the book. And then the next book, I released Grandma Hattie as a coloring book.
Let's
So-
put this on while she's talking.
Yeah, so now it came out as a coloring book. And then the next book I released was Maya. And so Maya is a play on Marsha.
Ah,
And so
okay.
she gets out of the baby gate. And it's all about her day out of the baby gate. And then each one of my books in the back, there's some sort of resource.
Okay.
So Grandma Hattie's Ice Cream, there's an ice cream recipe. Maya, there's a listing of ways to keep babies safe. The Zakari books both have resources in the back. And then I have a book called A to Z with Me. It's an activity book for kids to learn their alphabet and to be able to write words out. And so that one's just available on Amazon. And then I just released Grandma Hattie's Ice Cream in Spanish.
Wow.
Oh, and then I got A Very Moss Christmas. I forgot about that one.
A Very Moss Christmas. What's
Yeah,
that?
so my family's last name is Moss.
Okay.
And the book is an alphabet book, and it's everything on Christmas, A to Z, with my grandparents. Yeah.
So how you get inspired to just do the book? What made you say? I heard how she told you that, and after that, you did that. But what made you say? Because there's a lot of realms of books you can get into. You can write. There's people write love stories, and people write. So what made you say I'm going to stay in this kind of genre?
Because my grandson didn't have books with characters of color.
Mm.
So he has a lot of books that was teaching numbers and colors, but none of the characters look like him.
Wow.
And so that's why Grandma Hattie, I was actually working on a whole nother book. And I kept dreaming about my Grandma Hattie. And I'm like, okay, I got it. I'll write this book. You keep coming to me. And so I wrote that book, and I wrote that book in 2020, I want to say. And I'm still selling huge numbers on that book. Yeah, Maple just bought about 4,000 books, I think.
Wow.
They buy books every other year.
Okay.
And then they put them in their book vending machines for the kids and stuff.
Oh, okay. So that's that. Once you get like into that kind of loop, it's every time they need books, they're gonna call
They
because
buy
they
some
like
more,
this
yeah.
as a book for their school and with their. That's awesome.
Yeah, and
and
then-
so all of your books are just this one you got there.
Maple has Maya and Grandma Hattie.
Oh,
and then
awesome.
with Grandma Hattie, we come out and we make ice cream with the kids. So they can
Okay.
book us for, we call it's a STEM activity because the kids get to do the measurements. Some people book us and they just get a kid's ice cream, but some of them will book us and the kids get to actually make ice cream.
How old are these kids when you saying they book you? What age range?
So I read all the way up to grade 6, actually.
Okay.
The big kids love Grandma Hattie.
And they love the
They
ice
say
cream.
it look like Medea on the book.
It does. Cartoon version of Medea for sure.
Yeah, they say it look like Medea. They like it. And then my book readings are very interactive. It's a lot of call and response in those 2 books. It gets very loud when we read those books.
Oh, that's very creative and very. So you've been able to take that, turn that into a foundation, and turn it into a way of working and means of employment and entrepreneurship
try.
and author.
And all of my
that's great.
characters are real people. So those are like Maya, that's my granddaughter. So I
Okay.
use real people in real life situations.
Oh, Grandma Hattie is Grandma
Yeah, that's my
Hattie.
grandma.
That's
Yeah.
Grandma Hattie. You said that. Okay,
And
I
the
got
little
you.
girl, that's my cousin Aubrey.
Okay.
So I use real characters in the book. Maya is my granddaughter, and then the little boy in the book, Zakari, is my grandson. So all of the characters are real people. My goal is to write a book that features every person in my family to continue with the Moss legacy. So that's my goal.
So what made you decide to go with this artistry and find and there. What made you? Did they give you had to pick through? I imagine. And what made you?
Well,
Because I'm looking at the theme of you use the same artist for
I
every.
use the same
Okay.
guy.
Yeah.
I actually found him on Fiverr. And
Really?
so, yeah. And some people say I've had bad experience.
Yeah, I have good and bad.
He's
Yeah.
done all of my books. He's actually working on a book for me right now.
Awesome. When you find somebody good, you get
Yeah,
somebody. Okay.
yeah. So I and then he knows the characters. So he's
Okay.
created the original one. So
Mhm.
if the next book has the same characters, it just makes sense to go with the same person.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Because
And how long this whole journey on the author books and everything?
the first book of Zakari that came out in 2020. So initially, I was releasing like two to three books a year.
Wow.
And I had to pull back because I was like, whoa, that's a lot. So, because and then I re-released Grandma Hattie. I re-released it as a coloring book, and now I'm re-releasing it in Spanish. My next book will probably be releasing in the summer, the one he's working on now. So that'll be my 2 for this year, so I'll be done.
That's awesome. You're going to do a coloring book, which you don't see a lot of them
Yeah, the
anymore.
coloring book
That's
is
gonna be
out
good.
already.
Okay.
Yeah.
You should do some puzzles.
What I'm working on is, so the pictures, if you looked at the pictures, the game Memory where you flip the cards. So the ice creams, I'm making it a memory game.
Okay.
So that'll come out at Christmas time.
That's what I'm saying. You got it going on. DJ, you got something for Miss Smith before we let her take us out of here?
Yeah, I want to know if you had an idea to write a book, what's the first steps that you need to do to make that go into fruition?
So when it comes to books, I always tell people I'm a dream writer. So I dream and then I wake up and write. So I tell people if it's something and it keeps waking you up and you can't forget it, then it's a book. But you have to start writing. You have to write stuff down. Even if you do like voice recording, take your ideas and put it down on paper or on a computer and walk away from it for a couple weeks. And then walk back. And if it still is warm on your heart, then move forward with it. Because sometimes you have an idea and you put it down, and then when you walk away, you come back and you're like, oh, that don't even make sense. I don't want to do that. Like, I don't want to do that.
Right.
Like the book I was working on before Grandma Hattie, I never released that book. It's still sitting on my computer because it didn't sing to me yet. So if you want to write a book, put the ideas down, walk away from it, and then come back to it. And if it still seems like it's a thing, then move forward. But make sure you're telling a story that you want to tell. Like I've had people call me like, oh, write a book about this. I don't know that. I can't write it. I don't know anything about that. That's not a story for me to write.
That's what I was going to ask you. have you thought about writing anything has anything came to you other than like the children thing that you think I might want to write?
I'm really playing with the idea of writing young adult stories. I'm playing with that because that's what I used to read when I was growing up. So I'm playing with that idea. I'm not sure yet.
And what's a young adult story?
Like a short chapter book. So I'm playing with the idea. I don't know because that just takes a lot more time, and a lot more focus.
Yeah.
Praying about it. We'll see.
I imagine you'll work it out. You've been doing pretty
Have you
good.
thought about animation, taking one of your books and making a
Short.
cartoon or short film, or make it
I actually
children's show or anything like that?
Yes, someone approached me about the Zakari series because I always tell people he's like the Curious George, but in kid version. The first book he went to college, the next visit he went to a carnival and got lost. And so I had somebody approach me about making that kind of a cartoon, but then Gracie's Corner dropped, and I was like, oh, I can't compete with Gracie.
Oh, I think you'll be all right. You got your own lane.
We'll see.
I think that's a good idea. If it speaks to and the way technology is today, that will be that fiber will turn anything into anything. If it's heavy on your heart and you decide, I know it'll come. And the way technology is and everybody, they're all into those shorts, so any of that stuff will work. And one thing's for sure, I will tell this, that the parents that are really involved with their kids, no matter what level it is, they spend whatever and we do whatever we can for our kids. And so if you had a car story of mine, it was a short film or a short little thing, they'll be sitting there with their little iPads watching it after they watch their, especially if it's one that's black, because there's not many of that out there.
I'm open to it. Like I said, the ideas come and I've been riding this Grandma Hattie train for a minute. The first book released in 2020. So to still be able to make the kind of traction that I'm making with districts all over the country. Like in Georgia, it's now in all of their libraries. So it's in all libraries in Ohio, but now it's in the libraries in Georgia. And the book came out in 2020. So.
You could do a lot with Grandma Hattie. That's how Medea got started. Medea went to college, Medea went to church, Medea went to jail, Medea, Grandma Hattie goes.
She just won the International Impact Award, so I'll be going to Phoenix in April to accept that.
Miss Hattie can go. Hey, you know what's crazy? I call her Miss Hattie is because my daughters went to a daycare, and it was right across the street from our house, and the lady's name is Miss Hattie.
I didn't know it was so many Hatties until I wrote that book, and I get a lot of book orders, and people wanted autographed to Hattie this or Grandma Hattie, and Auntie Hattie. I'm like, I didn't know it was so many Hatties.
Yep, it's a lot of Hatties out. That's why I was thinking about Miss Hattie, and she was across the street from us, and all the kids in the neighborhood went there, Miss Hattie. So listen, it was a pleasure having you on our show. We buzzed right on. We stayed right on time. We did very awesome and answered all our questions. Did good there. Like I said, if we close our program, I want you to take a look at this camera. This is yours. I want you to take your time, tell the people what they need to know, but more importantly, let them know how they can get in touch about the 1,000 Ties if they want to donate, if they want to be a part of that. Let them know where they can get all your books and how they can get online and where they can get that stuff from and anything else. You take your time, give it to the camera, and we're going to push that out for you.
Okay. One thing that I always like to tell people is when it comes to our youth, a lot of them are just looking for someone to see them. And I know we're all busy and we all have life going on, but just take a couple minutes and find a youth and just listen to them. They're humans, they're people, and they feel alone in a lot of situations. Just a little bit of your time could make the difference in someone's life. Be able to meet them where they are and give back. We're all busy. So it's about making that commitment to pour back into those who we want to see do well. And for our annual event, it's February 8th. Registration is open. This is an event you don't want to miss. We have Judge Michael Ryan that will be there. Micah Dixon is going to be there. We have some amazing things lined up. And the event is 100% free. We'll have free everything, free food, free coats, free books, free toys. Just everything is free. So you don't have to worry about anything. Catch an Uber, come on up. If you don't have a ride back, let us know. We'll make sure we get you an Uber back. So just make sure you're in the building. We want you there. All of my books are available on my website, jawansmith.com. You can also get them on Amazon, walmart.com, target.com, barnesandnoble.com. So you can get my books anywhere. You can check them out of any library in Ohio, but I prefer you purchase a book from me. That'd be great.
Excellent. So again, we're going to have all the links to where you can reach Miss Jawan Smith, and we'll have links to where you can get all of her stuff in the description and our YouTube link. So again, we'll see you next week. Peace.